Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Ampareen Lyngdoh today said that the government is keenly engaging with various line departments for necessary advisory for floating of yet another 108 emergency service tender. Meanwhile, following consultations with 108 workers, the government has agreed to renew the contracts of 108 service workers with NHM Meghalaya, including a 4% salary increase. The minister acknowledged that some categories of workers are dissatisfied with this increase and has said that their concerns will be reviewed. She also spoke on the employees' demands for health insurance and leaves.
So right now, government is keenly engaging with various line departments for necessary advisory on the matter of the floating of yet another 108 tender. We understand that these tenders have again and again drawn various agendas and issues which have forced the state government to put tendering procedures under hold. Now, in the meanwhile, because the workers at the initial stage of signing up with the NHM, which was a temporary arrangement in the state of Meghalaya for the running of the 108 services in the state, there have been several consultations that have been taken up with the 108 workers. And because they had signed a 1-year agreement with the NHM, these agreements had to subsequently be updated. It was a 1-year contract, so we had to renew all of these contracts with these workers in various assignments. We have agreed, therefore, to re-sign those contracts with the 108 workers, permitting, after consultation, a 4% increase in their salaries, because these were pending before the Department of Health under the NHM. And I have received yet another representation that there is another group of workers in the 108 that are still dissatisfied with the 4% increase on various grounds. There's no point discussing this, but there are particularly three categories of workers: the pilots, the receptionists, and the EROs. So these EROs, pilots and receptionists, when they first signed up on the NHM agreement of 1 year, started on a much lower grade of remunerations. So that has to be sorted out. I do not know whether or not we can do that, but I've just received this representation on the 18th. I will study it. But in the meanwhile, we have renewed all of the agreements with the 108 workers, because that was something that we had to do as a government. On a case-to-case matter have been dealt with. For example, certain workers of the 108 met with accidents, and some quick decisions had to be taken on matters of their health coverages. So individually all of these agendas were attended to. Say, for example, pregnant women traveling in the 108 at a certain stage of pregnancy was not healthy for them to continue their job. So like that, from time to time, whenever these cases come to my table, we have considered and we have given them several benefits. But because the NHM is not a company that has been selected for the running of these 108s, privileges of workers continue to be something that has not been made available to these workers. So once a company signs up after due processing of a tender, then only will workers be able to negotiate with the companies. But right now it is just the NHM. It is a makeshift arrangement. So on a case-to-case basis, we try our best to address any emergency that occurs among workers. By and large, we are not in authority to actually sign all of these insurances and all that, because it's a technical thing and we are not competent. NHM is not the competent authority to sign all of these privileges of workers. We hope that shortly all of this will be sorted out, and I hope that in the next announcement of the tenders we will cover all loopholes that have occurred in the failure of us being able to process the tender.
EROs, pilots?
No, so EROs, pilots have also been given, but they're requesting for an additional 1% increase. That I have not taken a decision because there are some issues and we need to figure all of that first before we give them any kind of an assurance.
What is the financial implication of the government implementing this 4%?
No, I don't have the numbers with me, but they're all covered, and I don't have the exact number, and we can ask the officers. They will have a better insight on that.
Any deadline to roll out these services? Because now it's been more than a year since we have
Yes.
not been able
Yes.
to get a company.
Any?
Deadline.
So you see, the deadline when, we should actually do the ASAP. That's the deadline. But then unfortunately, every time we call this for a tender, there are always complications that arise. And in order to avert all of that confusion over the loopholes in various tenders that were called, this time we want to be doubly sure that that doesn't reoccur again.